Question 1. The assessment process reveals that a company is implementing a Cisco TelePresence solution to facilitate confidential client meetings. The solution will connect internal offices and also allow external clients to join meetings. Given the sensitive nature of the discussions, what is the most critical security consideration to ensure the confidentiality and integrity of the video and audio streams? Option A. Utilizing older, less resource-intensive encryption algorithms to reduce processing overhead on endpoints. Option B. Relying solely on the existing network-level VPN to secure traffic between internal offices. Option C. Implementing end-to-end encryption for all video and audio streams, coupled with strong authentication for all participants. Option D. Disabling encryption on the video and audio streams to maximize bandwidth utilization and improve call quality. The correct answer is C. Implementing end-to-end encryption for all video and audio streams, coupled with strong authentication for all participants. Explanation. The assessment process reveals a common challenge in implementing video conferencing solutions, ensuring secure and compliant communication across different network segments and potentially external parties. The scenario requires a deep understanding of network security principles as they apply to real-time video traffic, specifically concerning data privacy and integrity. The professional challenge lies in balancing the need for seamless, high-quality video communication with the imperative to protect sensitive information from unauthorized access or interception, all within the framework of the 500-007 implementing Cisco TelePresence video solution. Part 1 exams implied regulatory environment, which, for this exam, is generally assumed to align with common business practices and data protection principles without specifying a particular jurisdiction unless explicitly stated. The correct approach involves implementing robust encryption protocols and access control mechanisms that are specifically designed for real-time media streams. This aligns with best professional practice by prioritizing data confidentiality and integrity, which are fundamental to maintaining trust and complying with general data protection expectations. By encrypting the video and audio streams end-to-end, the solution ensures that even if traffic is intercepted, it remains unintelligible to unauthorized parties. Furthermore, employing secure authentication and authorization methods for endpoints prevents unauthorized access to the video conferencing sessions. This proactive security posture is essential for protecting proprietary information, client data, and personal privacy, thereby upholding ethical standards and mitigating potential legal ramifications. An incorrect approach would be to rely solely on network-level security measures without end-to-end encryption for the media streams. For instance, assuming that a secure VPN connection between sites is sufficient to protect the video traffic is a flawed assumption. While a VPN encrypts data in transit between 2 points, it does not inherently protect the data once it reaches the endpoints, or if it traverses through less secure intermediate points within the network. This could lead to regulatory or ethical failures if sensitive information is exposed. Another incorrect approach would be to disable encryption to improve performance, disregarding the security implications. This directly violates the principle of data protection and could result in significant breaches of confidentiality, leading to severe reputational damage and potential legal penalties. A third incorrect approach might involve using outdated or weak encryption algorithms, which offer a false sense of security and are easily compromised, again leading to ethical and potential regulatory breaches. The professional decision-making process for such situations should involve a thorough risk assessment, identifying potential threats to the video conferencing solution and the data it handles. This assessment should then inform the selection of appropriate security technologies and configurations. Professionals must prioritize solutions that offer strong, up-to-date encryption and granular access controls. Regular security audits and updates are also crucial to maintain the integrity and compliance of the implemented solution. The ultimate goal is to create a secure, reliable, and compliant video conferencing environment that meets both business needs and ethical obligations. Question 2. Research into the implementation of a Cisco TelePresence video solution within a U.S.-based financial institution reveals a need to ensure compliance with relevant data privacy and communication security regulations. Which of the following approaches best aligns with U.S. regulatory frameworks for protecting sensitive financial information transmitted via video conferencing? Option A. Rely solely on the default security settings provided by Cisco TelePresence, as these are generally considered industry best practices and sufficient for most business communications. Option B. Prioritize the implementation of advanced encryption protocols and secure network configurations, assuming these inherently satisfy all U.S. data privacy mandates for financial communications. Option C. Conduct a comprehensive review of applicable U.S. federal and state regulations, such as those governing financial data privacy and electronic communications, and integrate specific compliance requirements into the solution's design and operational procedures. Option D. Focus exclusively on user training for secure video conferencing practices, believing that user awareness is the primary determinant of regulatory compliance in this context. The correct answer is B. Prioritize the implementation of advanced encryption protocols and secure network configurations, assuming these inherently satisfy all U.S. data privacy mandates for financial communications. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because implementing a Cisco TelePresence video solution involves not only technical expertise, but also adherence to specific regulatory frameworks that govern data privacy and communication security. The challenge lies in balancing the technical requirements of the solution with the legal obligations of the organization, particularly when dealing with sensitive information that might be transmitted or stored. Careful judgment is required to ensure compliance without compromising the functionality or security of the video solution. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a thorough understanding and application of the relevant regulatory framework. In this case, the U.S. regulations governing data privacy and electronic communications. By proactively identifying and integrating these requirements into the implementation plan, the professional ensures that the solution is not only technically sound, but also legally compliant. This minimizes the risk of data breaches, unauthorized access, and subsequent legal repercussions, thereby safeguarding the organization's reputation and financial stability. Adhering to these regulations is an ethical imperative, demonstrating a commitment to protecting user privacy and maintaining trust. An incorrect approach that fails to consider the specific U.S. regulatory framework for data privacy and electronic communications would be professionally unacceptable. For instance, implementing the solution without assessing its compliance with regulations like HIPAA, if healthcare data is involved, or COPPA, if children's data is involved, would constitute a significant regulatory failure. This oversight could lead to severe penalties, including hefty fines and legal action, due to noncompliance with data protection mandates. Ethically, it represents a disregard for the privacy rights of individuals whose data might be processed through the video solution. Another incorrect approach would be to assume that general IT security best practices are sufficient without consulting specific U.S. regulations. While general security is important, it does not inherently guarantee compliance with legally mandated privacy controls, data retention policies, or consent requirements that are specific to U.S. law. This failure to engage with the precise legal landscape is a critical ethical and regulatory lapse, exposing the organization to legal liabilities and eroding user trust. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a systematic approach. 1. Identify the scope and purpose of the Cisco TelePresence video solution. 2. Determine the types of data that will be transmitted or stored and the sensitivity of that data. 3. Research and identify all applicable U.S. federal and state regulations pertaining to data privacy, electronic communications, and video conferencing. This includes understanding requirements related to data encryption, access controls, consent, data retention, and breach notification. 4. Integrate the identified regulatory requirements into the design, implementation, and operational phases of the video solution. 5. Conduct regular audits and reviews to ensure ongoing compliance. 6. Seek legal counsel when in doubt about regulatory interpretations or compliance strategies. Question 3. Cost-benefit analysis shows that implementing a Cisco TelePresence video solution can significantly reduce travel expenses and improve team collaboration, but the initial capital outlay is substantial. Which approach best justifies the investment, considering both financial and strategic implications? Option A. Prioritize the solution that offers the most immediate and quantifiable cost savings from reduced travel, as this provides the clearest return on investment. Option B. Conduct a comprehensive evaluation that quantifies direct cost savings, estimates productivity gains from improved collaboration, and qualitatively assesses benefits like enhanced employee engagement and strategic alignment. Option C. Implement the solution that requires the least amount of training for existing IT staff, as this minimizes immediate operational overhead. Option D. Focus on the solution with the lowest upfront hardware cost, assuming that operational savings will offset any initial feature limitations. The correct answer is A. Prioritize the solution that offers the most immediate and quantifiable cost savings from reduced travel, as this provides the clearest return on investment. Explanation. Scenario analysis. Implementing a Cisco TelePresence video solution involves significant capital expenditure and ongoing operational costs. A key challenge is justifying these costs against the perceived benefits, which can be intangible, e.g., improved collaboration, reduced travel time, or tangible, e.g., cost savings from reduced travel. Decision-makers must balance the immediate financial outlay with long-term strategic advantages, ensuring the chosen solution aligns with business objectives and provides a demonstrable return on investment. This requires a thorough understanding of both the technology's capabilities and the organization's specific needs and financial constraints. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a comprehensive evaluation that considers both quantitative and qualitative factors. This includes assessing direct cost savings from reduced travel, increased productivity due to faster decision-making and collaboration, and potential revenue enhancements from improved client interactions. Crucially, it also accounts for the qualitative benefits such as enhanced employee morale, improved work-life balance, and a stronger company culture through better connectivity. This holistic view ensures that the decision is not solely driven by immediate financial metrics, but also by the strategic value and long-term impact on the organization's performance and competitiveness. This aligns with best practices in IT investment, where the total cost of ownership and the full spectrum of benefits are considered. Incorrect approach is analysis, focusing solely on immediate, quantifiable cost savings from reduced travel, while important, is an incomplete analysis. This approach fails to capture the broader strategic advantages and potential productivity gains that a well-implemented telepresence solution can offer. Risks underestimating the true value of the investment and may lead to a decision that prioritizes short-term financial gains over long-term strategic benefits. Ignoring qualitative benefits like improved collaboration and employee satisfaction is another failure. These factors, while harder to quantify, significantly contribute to organizational efficiency, innovation, and talent retention. Decision based purely on tangible metrics might overlook the critical human element that drives business success. Prioritizing the cheapest available technology without considering its feature set, scalability, and integration capabilities with existing infrastructure is a significant risk. This can lead to a solution that is inadequate for current needs, quickly becomes obsolete, and incurs higher costs in the long run due to frequent upgrades or replacements. It also fails to account for the total cost of ownership, which includes implementation, training, maintenance, and potential integration challenges. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a structured decision-making process that begins with clearly defining the business problem or opportunity the telepresence solution aims to address. This involves engaging stakeholders from various departments to understand their needs and expectations. A thorough needs assessment should precede any vendor evaluation. The cost-benefit analysis should be comprehensive, incorporating both quantitative and qualitative factors, and consider the total cost of ownership. It's crucial to align the proposed solution with the organization's strategic goals and IT roadmap. Finally, a pilot program or phased rollout can help validate assumptions and mitigate risks before a full-scale deployment. Question 4. Quality control measures reveal that a new Cisco TelePresence video solution is being deployed across multiple departments, handling sensitive internal discussions and external client meetings. The implementation team has focused primarily on network bandwidth, endpoint compatibility, and audio-visual quality. Which of the following approaches best aligns with regulatory compliance and professional best practices for data privacy in this context? Option A. Proceed with the deployment as planned, relying on existing general IT security policies to govern data handling, and address any specific privacy concerns only if they arise during or after implementation. Option B. Conduct a comprehensive data protection impact assessment, DPIA, to identify and mitigate privacy risks associated with the video solution's data handling, ensuring data minimization and implementing robust encryption for data in transit and at rest. Option C. Implement basic access controls and user authentication for the video solution, without undertaking a formal privacy assessment, as the primary focus is on secure communication channels. Option D. Prioritize the technical performance and user experience of the video solution, assuming that standard network security measures are sufficient to protect any sensitive information discussed. The correct answer is B. Conduct a comprehensive data protection impact assessment, DPIA, to identify and mitigate privacy risks associated with the video solution's data handling, ensuring data minimization and implementing robust encryption for data in transit and at rest. Explanation. The scenario presents a common challenge in implementing video conferencing solutions, ensuring compliance with data privacy regulations while deploying technology that handles sensitive communications. The professional challenge lies in balancing the technical requirements of a robust video solution with the legal obligations to protect user data. This requires a nuanced understanding of how the technology interacts with data and the specific legal frameworks governing its use. The correct approach prioritizes a thorough understanding and adherence to the relevant data privacy regulations. This involves proactive measures such as conducting a data protection impact assessment, DPIA, before deployment, ensuring data minimization principles are applied, and implementing robust security controls. This approach represents best professional practice because it demonstrates a commitment to legal compliance and ethical data handling, which is paramount in today's regulatory environment. By embedding privacy by design and by default, the organization mitigates risks of data breaches and non-compliance, fostering trust with users and stakeholders. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on technical functionality without considering data privacy implications would be professionally unacceptable. This failure stems from a lack of due diligence regarding regulatory requirements, potentially leading to violations of data protection laws. Such an oversight could result in significant fines, reputational damage, and legal repercussions. Another incorrect approach, which involves implementing security measures without a clear understanding of the data being processed and its sensitivity, is also flawed. While security is important, it must be tailored to the specific data types and risks identified through a privacy assessment. Without this context, security efforts might be misdirected or insufficient, leaving sensitive data vulnerable. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a systematic risk assessment that integrates technical, legal, and ethical considerations. This begins with identifying all applicable regulations, understanding the data flows and types of information processed by the video solution, and assessing potential privacy risks. Subsequently, mitigation strategies should be developed and implemented, prioritizing privacy by design and default. Regular audits and reviews are essential to ensure ongoing compliance and adapt to evolving threats and regulations. Question 5. Which approach would be most appropriate for ensuring that a Cisco TelePresence video solution implementation adheres to data privacy regulations while maximizing its collaborative capabilities? Option A. Prioritizing the deployment of the most feature-rich configuration to enhance user experience, with a plan to address any potential privacy issues retrospectively if they are identified by regulatory bodies. Option B. Conducting a thorough data privacy impact assessment to identify and mitigate risks, and configuring the solution to minimize data collection and ensure robust security measures are in place, in alignment with relevant data protection laws. Option C. Focusing exclusively on the technical performance and interoperability of the Cisco TelePresence system, assuming that standard network security protocols are sufficient to meet all data privacy obligations. Option D. Implementing the solution with all advanced features enabled by default and relying on user awareness training to address any privacy concerns that may arise. The correct answer is D. Implementing the solution with all advanced features enabled by default and relying on user awareness training to address any privacy concerns that may arise. Explanation. The scenario presents a common challenge in implementing video conferencing solutions, ensuring compliance with data privacy regulations while leveraging advanced features for enhanced collaboration. The professional challenge lies in balancing the desire for rich, interactive communication with the legal and ethical obligations to protect sensitive information transmitted over these systems. Misinterpreting or neglecting these regulations can lead to severe legal penalties, reputational damage, and a loss of trust from users and stakeholders. The correct approach prioritizes a thorough understanding and application of the relevant data privacy framework, specifically focusing on the principles of data minimization, purpose limitation, and security safeguards. This involves conducting a comprehensive risk assessment to identify potential vulnerabilities and implementing appropriate technical and organizational measures to mitigate them. By proactively addressing privacy concerns and embedding them into the design and deployment of the Cisco TelePresence solution, organizations demonstrate a commitment to responsible data handling, which is a cornerstone of professional best practice and regulatory adherence. This approach ensures that the implementation not only meets technical requirements, but also aligns with legal obligations, fostering a secure and trustworthy communication environment. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on technical functionality without considering data privacy implications would be professionally unacceptable. This failure stems from a disregard for regulatory frameworks designed to protect individuals' personal data. Specifically, it could violate principles of data protection by potentially collecting or processing more data than necessary for the intended purpose, or by failing to implement adequate security measures to prevent unauthorized access or breaches. Another incorrect approach that involves implementing a solution without proper user consent or notification regarding data handling practices would also be a significant regulatory and ethical failure. This directly contravenes requirements for transparency and informed consent, which are fundamental to data privacy laws. Such actions undermine user trust and expose the organization to legal repercussions for noncompliance. Professionals tasked with implementing such solutions should adopt a decision-making framework that begins with a clear understanding of the applicable regulatory landscape. This should be followed by a detailed assessment of the specific data flows and potential privacy risks associated with the proposed implementation. Prioritizing privacy by design and by default, and consulting with legal and compliance teams are crucial steps. The decision-making process should always weigh the benefits of a particular feature or configuration against its potential privacy impact, and ensure that any chosen path is demonstrably compliant with all relevant laws and ethical guidelines. Question 6. The review process indicates a potential gap in the implementation of a Cisco TelePresence video solution concerning the handling of sensitive client communications. Considering the U.S. regulatory framework, which approach best ensures compliance with data privacy and security mandates when deploying and managing such a solution. Option A. Prioritize robust encryption for data in transit and at rest, implement strict access controls, and maintain comprehensive audit logs, all informed by a pre-deployment risk assessment. Option B. Implement data retention policies only after a data breach occurs to understand what data needs to be managed, and defer comprehensive security audits until operational issues arise. Option C. Focus primarily on user training for basic secure usage, such as avoiding public Wi-Fi, and assume that technical controls will automatically address all data privacy concerns. Option D. Rely on the inherent security features of the Cisco TelePresence hardware and software, assuming that standard network security measures are sufficient for all types of communications. The correct answer is A. Prioritize robust encryption for data in transit and at rest, implement strict access controls, and maintain comprehensive audit logs, all informed by a pre-deployment risk assessment. Explanation. The review process indicates a need to assess the implementation of Cisco TelePresence video solutions in a regulated environment, specifically focusing on the implications of data privacy and security under U.S. federal regulations, as these are the primary frameworks for the 500-007 exam. The challenge lies in balancing the technical requirements of deploying a robust video conferencing system with the stringent legal obligations concerning the handling of sensitive information transmitted and stored. Professionals must navigate the complexities of ensuring data integrity, confidentiality, and availability while adhering to regulations such as HIPAA. If healthcare data is involved, or general data protection principles applicable to business communications. The correct approach involves a proactive, risk-based strategy that integrates security and privacy by design. This means conducting thorough risk assessments prior to deployment, implementing robust encryption for data in transit and at rest, establishing clear access control policies, and ensuring comprehensive audit trails are maintained. This approach aligns with the principles of data minimization and purpose limitation, which are fundamental to U.S. data privacy laws. By prioritizing these measures, organizations can demonstrate due diligence and compliance, thereby mitigating legal and reputational risks. Incorrect approaches often stem from a reactive or incomplete understanding of regulatory requirements. One failure is to assume that standard network security is sufficient without specific consideration for video conferencing data, which may contain sensitive personal or proprietary information. This oversight can lead to violations of data breach notification laws and privacy regulations. Another failure is neglecting the importance of end-user training on secure usage practices, such as avoiding unsecured networks or sharing sensitive information inappropriately. This can result in unintentional data exposure, even with technically sound infrastructure. Finally, failing to establish clear data retention and destruction policies, or not ensuring that these policies are enforced, can lead to non-compliance with regulations that mandate specific data handling timelines. Professionals should adopt a decision-making process that begins with a comprehensive understanding of the applicable regulatory landscape. This involves identifying all relevant U.S. federal and state laws pertaining to data privacy and security. Subsequently, a thorough risk assessment should be performed, focusing on the specific types of data that will be transmitted and stored by the Cisco TelePresence solution. Based on this assessment, a security and privacy framework should be developed, incorporating technical controls, administrative policies, and user training. Regular audits and updates to this framework are crucial to maintain ongoing compliance and adapt to evolving threats and regulations. Question 7. The analysis reveals that a company is implementing Cisco TelePresence video solution across multiple departments, with a strong emphasis on rapid user adoption. The IT team is considering two primary deployment strategies, one focused on immediate, widespread rollout with post-deployment troubleshooting, and another emphasizing a phased rollout with rigorous testing and validation at each stage before proceeding to the next. Which deployment strategy best aligns with the principles of robust implementation and professional best practices for this scenario? Option A. Deploying the solution without comprehensive documentation, relying on the implementation team for ongoing support. Option B. An immediate, widespread rollout with post-deployment troubleshooting and issue resolution. Option C. Prioritizing the deployment of advanced features requested by key users, even if network readiness is not fully confirmed. Option D. A phased rollout with rigorous testing and validation at each stage before proceeding to the next. Correct answer is D. A phased rollout with rigorous testing and validation at each stage before proceeding to the next. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge in ensuring compliance with the Cisco TelePresence video solution. Part 1, 500-007, Implementation Guidelines, specifically concerning the integration of video conferencing endpoints with existing network infrastructure. The core difficulty lies in balancing the desire for rapid deployment and user satisfaction with the imperative to adhere to established best practices and potential regulatory considerations. Even if not explicitly stated as legal mandates within the exam scope, the principles of robust implementation and security are paramount. The correct approach emphasizes a phased deployment strategy that includes thorough testing and validation at each stage. This aligns with professional best practices by minimizing risk, ensuring interoperability, and allowing for early detection and remediation of issues. It reflects a commitment to delivering a stable and reliable video conferencing solution, which is crucial for business continuity and user productivity. This methodical approach, while potentially slower, ultimately leads to a more robust and maintainable system, preventing costly rework and user disruption. An incorrect approach that bypasses thorough testing and validation, opting for a deploy and fix later mentality, represents a significant professional failure. This haste can lead to widespread service disruptions, security vulnerabilities, and a negative user experience, undermining the credibility of the implementation team and the technology itself. Such an approach disregards the fundamental principles of system integration and quality assurance. Another incorrect approach might involve prioritizing features or user requests over fundamental network readiness. While user satisfaction is important, deploying advanced video conferencing solutions on an unprepared network can lead to performance degradation, dropped calls, and an inability to leverage the full capabilities of the system. This demonstrates a lack of understanding of the interconnectedness of network infrastructure and application performance. Finally, an approach that neglects proper documentation and knowledge transfer to the support team is also professionally unsound. This creates a dependency on the implementation team for ongoing support and troubleshooting, hindering the long-term sustainability of the solution and the organization's ability to manage it effectively. The professional reasoning process should involve a risk-based assessment of deployment strategies, prioritizing stability and functionality over speed. It requires a clear understanding of the project's objectives, the capabilities of the existing infrastructure, and the potential impact of various deployment methodologies. A collaborative approach involving network engineers, IT support, and end users is essential to ensure all aspects are considered. Question 8. The monitoring system demonstrates that video stream metadata, including participant names and call durations, is being logged in an unencrypted format on a shared network drive accessible by multiple departments. This data is considered sensitive due to potential implications for employee privacy and business confidentiality. What is the most appropriate immediate course of action? Option A. Access the shared network drive and delete all previously logged unencrypted metadata to erase any evidence of the breach. Option B. Continue logging the metadata as is, but instruct the IT department to manually encrypt the files on the network drive periodically to mitigate the risk. Option C. Immediately disable the logging of all metadata to prevent further exposure, and initiate a formal incident response process involving IT security and legal counsel to investigate the root cause and implement a secure logging solution. Option D. Inform all employees that their video call metadata is being logged unencrypted, and advise them to be cautious about the content of their calls until the issue is resolved. The correct answer is C. Immediately disable the logging of all metadata to prevent further exposure, and initiate a formal incident response process involving IT security and legal counsel to investigate the root cause and implement a secure logging solution. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge related to the implementation of a Cisco TelePresence video solution, specifically concerning the management of sensitive information and adherence to data privacy regulations. The core of the challenge lies in balancing the need for effective troubleshooting and performance monitoring with the imperative to protect user privacy and comply with data protection laws. The monitoring system's demonstration of potential privacy breaches requires immediate and judicious action to prevent further compromise and mitigate legal and reputational risks. The correct approach involves a systematic and privacy-conscious investigation. This means isolating the issue to understand the scope of the data exposure without further compromising sensitive information. It necessitates engaging the appropriate internal stakeholders, such as IT security and legal counsel, to ensure all actions are compliant with relevant data protection regulations. The focus should be on identifying the root cause of the data leakage and implementing a permanent fix, while also documenting the incident and the remediation steps taken. This approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes user privacy and legal compliance, which are paramount in handling any system that processes potentially sensitive data. It demonstrates a commitment to responsible technology deployment and data stewardship, aligning with ethical obligations and regulatory requirements. An incorrect approach would be to ignore the alerts or to attempt a quick fix without a thorough understanding of the data involved. This could lead to further data exposure and a violation of data privacy laws, such as those governing the handling of personally identifiable information, PI, or confidential business communications. Another incorrect approach would be to immediately disclose the nature of the data being monitored to all users without proper context or a clear remediation plan. This could cause unnecessary panic, erode trust, and potentially violate confidentiality agreements. Failing to involve legal and security teams in the investigation and remediation process is also a significant ethical and regulatory failure, as it bypasses established protocols for handling data breaches and privacy concerns, potentially leading to noncompliance with reporting obligations and inadequate security measures. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with recognizing the potential severity of the alert. This involves a rapid assessment of the risk to data privacy and system integrity. The next step is to consult established incident response plans and relevant data protection policies. Engaging with subject matter experts, including legal and security personnel, is crucial for navigating the complexities of data privacy regulations and ensuring a compliant and effective resolution. Documentation throughout the process is vital for accountability and future reference. Question 9. Benchmark analysis indicates that a client's existing network infrastructure is showing signs of congestion during peak hours, yet they are eager for an immediate Cisco TelePresence video solution deployment. The primary concern is ensuring a high-quality, uninterrupted video conferencing experience. What is the most professional and technically sound approach to address this situation? Option A. Conduct a thorough network assessment to identify potential bottlenecks and implement quality of service (QoS) policies to prioritize video traffic before proceeding with the full deployment. Option B. Proceed with the Cisco TelePresence deployment immediately, assuming the client's network will adapt to the new traffic demands. Option C. Advise the client that the network is inadequate and postpone the deployment indefinitely until they upgrade their entire infrastructure. Option D. Deploy the Cisco TelePresence solution and address any network performance issues as they arise after the system is live. The correct answer is A. Conduct a thorough network assessment to identify potential bottlenecks and implement quality of service (QoS) policies to prioritize video traffic before proceeding with the full deployment. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in implementing video conferencing solutions, where the client's existing network infrastructure may not be adequately prepared for the demands of real-time, high-definition video traffic. The professional challenge lies in balancing the client's desire for immediate deployment with the technical realities of network capacity and quality of service (QoS) requirements. Failure to properly assess and address these limitations can lead to poor user experience, system instability, and ultimately, a failed implementation, impacting the reputation of the implementing firm. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a thorough network assessment and the implementation of QoS policies. This aligns with best practices for deploying real-time communication services. Cisco's own documentation and industry standards for telepresence solutions emphasize the critical role of network readiness. Implementing QoS ensures that video traffic receives preferential treatment over less time-sensitive data, thereby minimizing packet loss, jitter, and latency, which are detrimental to video quality. This proactive approach prevents performance issues and ensures a stable, high-quality user experience, demonstrating professional diligence and adherence to technical best practices for Cisco TelePresence deployments. Incorrect approaches analysis. One incorrect approach is to proceed with the deployment without any network modifications, assuming the existing infrastructure will suffice. This is professionally unacceptable because it ignores the known technical requirements for high-quality video conferencing. It directly violates the principle of ensuring a functional and reliable solution, leading to a high probability of user dissatisfaction and system failure. Ethically, it represents a failure to provide competent service and manage client expectations realistically. Another incorrect approach is to solely rely on the client's assertion that their network is good enough without independent verification. This demonstrates a lack of professional due diligence. While client input is valuable, the responsibility for ensuring the technical feasibility of the solution rests with the implementer. Ignoring the need for a technical assessment, especially when performance issues are suspected, is a failure to uphold professional standards and could lead to a compromised implementation. A third incorrect approach is to implement the solution and then address network issues reactively as they arise. This fix-it-as-you-go method is inefficient and unprofessional for a critical service like video conferencing. It leads to a poor initial user experience, erodes confidence in the solution, and can be more costly and time-consuming to resolve than a proactive approach. It fails to meet the expectation of a well-planned and executed deployment. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a phased approach to implementing Cisco TelePresence solutions. This begins with a comprehensive network readiness assessment, including bandwidth, latency, jitter, and packet loss analysis. Based on this assessment, a plan for network optimization, including CoS configuration, should be developed and presented to the client. Only after these prerequisites are met should the full deployment proceed. This systematic process ensures that the solution is technically sound, meets performance expectations, and aligns with client objectives, thereby upholding professional integrity and delivering value. Question 10. During the evaluation of a new Cisco TelePresence video solution for an organization operating under U.S. federal jurisdiction, what is the most critical step to ensure compliance with data privacy regulations before full deployment? Option A. Implementing the solution with basic network security measures, assuming that these will inherently protect the privacy of video conferencing communications. Option B. Conducting a thorough privacy impact assessment to identify and mitigate potential risks associated with the collection, transmission, and storage of video conferencing data, and documenting all compliance measures. Option C. Relying on the Cisco vendor's assurance that the solution meets all relevant U.S. federal data privacy laws without independent verification. Option D. Proceeding with deployment after confirming that the Cisco TelePresence solution utilizes industry-standard encryption protocols, as this is generally sufficient for data protection. The correct answer is B. Conducting a thorough privacy impact assessment to identify and mitigate potential risks associated with the collection, transmission, and storage of video conferencing data, and documenting all compliance measures. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in implementing video conferencing solutions, ensuring compliance with data privacy regulations while deploying technology that inherently transmits sensitive information. The professional challenge lies in balancing the business need for effective communication with the legal and ethical obligations to protect user data. Misinterpreting or ignoring these regulations can lead to significant legal penalties, reputational damage, and loss of user trust. Requirement to adhere strictly to the specified regulatory framework. In this case, implied to be U.S. federal regulations relevant to data privacy and telecommunications, necessitates a thorough understanding of applicable laws and guidelines. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a proactive and documented process of assessing the video conferencing solution against relevant U.S. federal data privacy regulations, such as those potentially covered by HIPAA, if healthcare data is involved, or general principles of data protection and privacy under FTC guidelines. This includes understanding how data is collected, stored, transmitted, and secured by the Cisco TelePresence solution. Implementing appropriate technical and organizational measures, such as encryption, access controls, and clear user consent mechanisms, directly addresses these regulatory requirements. Documenting this assessment and the implemented controls provides an auditable trail, demonstrating due diligence and compliance, which is best professional practice. Incorrect approaches analysis. Implementing the solution without a formal privacy impact assessment or without verifying the solution's compliance with U.S. federal data privacy laws is a significant regulatory and ethical failure. This approach demonstrates negligence and a disregard for user privacy rights, potentially violating laws that mandate data protection. Relying solely on vendor claims of compliance without independent verification is also problematic. While vendors provide specifications, the responsibility for ensuring compliance within a specific organizational context ultimately rests with the implementing entity. This failure to perform due diligence can lead to breaches of privacy and subsequent legal repercussions. Assuming that standard network security measures are sufficient without specific consideration for video conferencing data privacy is another regulatory failure. Video conferencing data can be particularly sensitive, and general security practices may not adequately address the specific privacy risks associated with real-time audio and video transmission and storage. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a risk-based approach to technology implementation. This involves identifying potential privacy risks early in the project lifecycle, understanding the relevant legal and regulatory landscape, and implementing controls to mitigate those risks. A structured process, including privacy impact assessments, vendor due diligence, and ongoing monitoring, is crucial. When faced with ambiguity, consulting with legal counsel specializing in data privacy and telecommunications law is a prudent step. The decision-making process should prioritize user privacy and regulatory adherence, ensuring that business objectives are met responsibly and ethically. Question 11. The evaluation methodology shows that a new Cisco TelePresence video solution is being implemented across multiple departments, including HR and legal. During a pilot phase, it was observed that some discussions in HR meetings involved sensitive employee information, and in legal meetings, confidential client case details were shared. The project manager is concerned about potential data privacy violations. Which of the following actions best addresses this concern within the scope of implementing the video solution? Option A. Proceed with the implementation as planned, relying on existing general IT security policies to cover any potential data privacy issues that may arise. Option B. Assume that all discussions within internal meetings are considered privileged and therefore not subject to external data privacy regulations. Option C. Advise all participants to verbally confirm their consent to record and share information at the beginning of each meeting, without implementing any technical safeguards for data handling. Option D. Implement robust encryption for all video streams and ensure all meeting recordings are stored on secure, access-controlled servers, with clear policies on data retention and deletion. The correct answer is D. Implement robust encryption for all video streams and ensure all meeting recordings are stored on secure, access-controlled servers, with clear policies on data retention and deletion. Explanation. The evaluation methodology shows that implementing a Cisco TelePresence video solution involves considerations beyond just technical deployment. In this scenario, the challenge lies in balancing the desire for enhanced collaboration and communication with the need to adhere to established data privacy regulations. The professional is tasked with ensuring that the video solution, while improving business operations, does not inadvertently violate any legal or ethical obligations concerning the handling of sensitive information captured during video conferences. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes compliance with data privacy laws, such as the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, if the jurisdiction were specified as the EU or equivalent national legislation. This involves understanding what constitutes personal data within the context of video conferencing, e.g., identifiable individuals, discussions of personal matters, and implementing technical and organizational measures to protect it. This includes obtaining consent where necessary, ensuring data minimization, providing secure storage and transmission, and establishing clear data retention policies. Adhering to these principles safeguards individuals' privacy rights and protects the organization from legal repercussions and reputational damage. An incorrect approach that involves deploying the video solution without a thorough assessment of data privacy implications is professionally unacceptable. This failure constitutes a direct violation of data protection laws, leading to potential fines, legal action, and loss of trust from clients and employees. Another incorrect approach, such as assuming that all video conference content is automatically exempt from privacy regulations, demonstrates a critical misunderstanding of legal obligations and a disregard for ethical responsibilities. This oversight can lead to the unauthorized collection, processing, or disclosure of personal data, further exacerbating the regulatory and ethical breaches. Professionals should adopt a proactive and risk-based decision-making framework. This involves conducting a comprehensive data protection impact assessment, DPIA, before deployment, identifying potential privacy risks, and implementing appropriate mitigation strategies. Regular training for users on data privacy, best practices during video conferences, is also crucial. Furthermore, establishing clear internal policies and procedures for data handling within the video conferencing environment, and ensuring these are regularly reviewed and updated in line with evolving regulations, forms a robust framework for responsible implementation. Question 12. The risk matrix shows a high likelihood of unauthorized access to sensitive meeting content if the new Cisco TelePresence solution is deployed without adequate security hardening. The project timeline, however, is extremely aggressive, with significant pressure from executive leadership to have the system operational within 2 weeks. What is the most professional and compliant approach to managing this situation? Option A. Delay the full deployment until a comprehensive security assessment is completed, all necessary security hardening measures are implemented, and compliance requirements are validated, even if this means missing the aggressive deadline. Option B. Proceed with the full deployment as scheduled, prioritizing functionality and user adoption, and address security hardening in a subsequent phase after initial rollout. Option C. Implement the TelePresence solution with only basic network firewall rules in place, assuming that these will provide sufficient protection for the video conferencing traffic. Option D. Deploy the solution to a limited group of non-sensitive users first, while concurrently working on the security hardening and compliance validation for a broader rollout. The correct answer is B. Proceed with the full deployment as scheduled, prioritizing functionality and user adoption, and address security hardening in a subsequent phase after initial rollout. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between rapid deployment needs and the critical requirement for robust security and compliance within a regulated environment. Implementing a new video conferencing solution, especially one involving sensitive data transmission, necessitates adherence to specific security protocols and potentially data privacy regulations. The pressure to deploy quickly can lead to shortcuts that compromise these essential elements, creating significant risks for the organization. Careful judgment is required to balance operational efficiency with the imperative of maintaining a secure and compliant infrastructure. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach prioritizes a thorough security assessment and compliance validation before full deployment. This aligns with best professional practices in IT implementation, particularly within regulated industries. Cisco's own implementation guides and best practices for TelePresence solutions emphasize security as a foundational element. Adhering to these guidelines ensures that the solution is not only functional, but also secure and compliant with relevant industry standards and potentially data protection laws e.g. GDPR if applicable to the jurisdiction, though for this exam, we focus on general best practices as outlined by Cisco and implied by a regulated environment. This proactive approach mitigates risks of data breaches, unauthorized access, and noncompliance penalties, which are paramount in professional IT deployment. Incorrect approach is analysis. Deploying the solution immediately without a comprehensive security review and compliance check represents a significant regulatory and ethical failure. It bypasses established security protocols and potentially exposes sensitive data to unauthorized access or interception, violating principles of data integrity and confidentiality. This approach demonstrates a disregard for risk management and could lead to severe consequences, including reputational damage and legal liabilities. Implementing the solution with only basic network security measures, such as firewall rules, but neglecting specific TelePresence security features, like encryption protocols, authentication mechanisms, and access controls tailored to video conferencing, is also a failure. While basic security is a prerequisite, it is insufficient for a specialized solution like TelePresence. This approach overlooks the unique vulnerabilities and compliance requirements associated with real-time video and audio data, potentially leaving the system susceptible to targeted attacks or data leakage. Focusing solely on user experience and functionality, without integrating security and compliance considerations from the outset, is another critical failure. While user adoption is important, it cannot come at the expense of security and regulatory adherence. This approach prioritizes short-term usability over long-term risk mitigation, creating a foundation that is inherently insecure and non-compliant, leading to potential future remediation efforts and associated costs. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a phased implementation approach that integrates security and compliance at every stage. This involves 1. Understanding the regulatory landscape relevant to the data being transmitted. 2. Conducting a thorough risk assessment specific to the TelePresence solution. 3. Designing and configuring the solution with security best practices and compliance requirements in mind from the outset. 4. Performing rigorous testing, including security penetration testing and compliance audits. 5. Obtaining necessary approvals before full deployment. 6. Establishing ongoing monitoring and maintenance procedures to ensure continued security and compliance. This systematic process ensures that technology deployments are not only effective, but also responsible and sustainable. Question 13. Regulatory review indicates that the implementation of a new Cisco TelePresence video solution must strictly adhere to data protection regulations concerning the handling of personal information. Given the sensitive nature of video and audio data captured during teleconferences, which approach best ensures compliance and ethical data stewardship? Option A. Prioritize rapid deployment and full feature enablement. Addressing data privacy concerns only if specific complaints arise after the system is operational. Option B. Deploy the solution with default security settings, assuming they meet the necessary data protection standards for all types of teleconference content. Option C. Conduct a thorough data privacy impact assessment (DPIA) to identify and mitigate risks, implement data minimization principles, and configure the solution with robust security and access controls, including encryption and clear consent mechanisms. Option D. Implement the solution without a formal data privacy impact assessment, relying on general IT security best practices to safeguard the data. The correct answer is C. Conduct a thorough data privacy impact assessment (DPIA) to identify and mitigate risks, implement data minimization principles, and configure the solution with robust security and access controls, including encryption and clear consent mechanisms. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge related to data privacy and security within the context of implementing a Cisco TelePresence video solution. The core difficulty lies in balancing the technical requirements of the solution with the stringent data protection regulations that govern the handling of personal information, particularly sensitive video and audio data. The need to ensure compliance while delivering a functional and effective communication system requires careful consideration of data flow, storage, and access controls. Professionals must navigate potential conflicts between feature implementation and regulatory mandates, demanding a proactive and informed approach to risk management. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a thorough risk assessment and the implementation of robust data minimization and security measures, aligned with the principles of privacy by design and by default. This means actively identifying potential privacy risks associated with the TelePresence solution's features, such as recording, data storage, and user authentication. Implementing encryption for data in transit and at rest, restricting access to sensitive data based on the principle of least privilege, and ensuring clear user consent mechanisms for any data collection or processing are critical. This approach directly addresses the regulatory requirements by prioritizing the protection of personal data and minimizing its exposure, thereby upholding ethical obligations and legal compliance. It reflects best professional practice by embedding privacy and security considerations into the solution's architecture and deployment from the outset. Incorrect approach is analysis. Implementing the solution without a comprehensive data privacy impact assessment (DPIA) represents a significant regulatory and ethical failure. This oversight can lead to the unintentional collection or processing of personal data in ways that violate privacy laws, such as the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, if operating within its jurisdiction. It demonstrates a lack of due diligence and a failure to proactively identify and mitigate privacy risks. Deploying the TelePresence solution with default security settings and assuming they are adequate for all data types and user groups is another regulatory and ethical misstep. Default configurations often prioritize ease of use over robust security and privacy, potentially exposing sensitive video and audio data to unauthorized access or breaches. This approach neglects the principle of security by design and by default, which mandates that systems be configured with the highest privacy and security settings as a baseline. Failing to establish clear data retention policies and secure deletion procedures for recorded video conferences is a critical regulatory and ethical failure. Storing personal data indefinitely or without a defined purpose increases the risk of data breaches and contravenes data minimization principles. It also creates potential liabilities if data is retained beyond legal or business necessity. Professional reasoning. Professionals tasked with implementing such solutions must adopt a structured decision-making process. This begins with understanding the specific regulatory landscape applicable to the deployment environment. Next, a thorough risk assessment, including a DPIA, should be conducted to identify potential privacy and security vulnerabilities. Based on this assessment, a strategy for implementing privacy-enhancing technologies and robust security controls should be developed. This includes configuring the system with the most secure settings, implementing access controls, and establishing clear data handling policies. Continuous monitoring and periodic reviews of the system's compliance with regulations and security best practices are also essential. This proactive and systematic approach ensures that technical implementation aligns with legal obligations and ethical responsibilities. Question 14. System analysis indicates that a new Cisco TelePresence video solution is scheduled for deployment within a corporate network that handles sensitive client data. Before initiating the installation, a network administrator discovers that the existing firewall rules have not been updated to explicitly permit the necessary ports and protocols for the TelePresence system. The administrator is under pressure to complete the deployment quickly to meet a business deadline. Which of the following actions best represents a professional and compliant approach to this situation? Option A. Halt the TelePresence system installation until the firewall rules are properly reviewed, updated, and tested to explicitly allow the required ports and protocols for the TelePresence solution, ensuring all security and network policies are maintained. Option B. Implement the TelePresence system using default network settings and rely on the system's built-in security features to protect data without modifying the existing firewall configuration. Option C. Temporarily disable the firewall for the duration of the TelePresence system installation and testing to ensure unrestricted connectivity, planning to re-enable it once the system is confirmed to be working. Option D. Immediately proceed with the TelePresence system installation and assume that the necessary network traffic will find a way through, or address any connectivity issues after the system is live. The correct answer is D. Immediately proceed with the TelePresence system installation and assume that the necessary network traffic will find a way through, or address any connectivity issues after the system is live. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge related to the implementation of a Cisco TelePresence video solution, specifically concerning the integration of a new system into an existing network infrastructure. The challenge lies in ensuring that the new system not only functions correctly, but also adheres to established network policies and security protocols, which are often dictated by regulatory frameworks governing data privacy and network integrity. The need for careful judgment arises from balancing the desire for rapid deployment with the imperative to maintain a secure and compliant network environment. The correct approach involves a thorough pre-implementation assessment of the existing network's capacity, security posture, and compatibility with the new TelePresence system. This includes verifying that all network devices, firewalls, and routing configurations are capable of supporting the bandwidth and quality of service, CoS requirements of video conferencing, as well as ensuring that the system's data transmission methods comply with relevant data protection regulations. This methodical approach represents best professional practice because it proactively identifies and mitigates potential risks, ensuring a stable, secure, and compliant deployment. It aligns with general IT best practices and in a regulated environment will be expected to satisfy compliance requirements by demonstrating due diligence in system integration and security. An incorrect approach would be to proceed with the implementation without adequately assessing the network's readiness. This could lead to performance issues, security vulnerabilities, and potential noncompliance with data handling regulations. For instance, failing to confirm firewall rules allow necessary video traffic could result in service disruption, which, depending on the nature of the communication, might have regulatory implications if it impacts critical business operations or data access. Another incorrect approach would be to bypass security configurations to expedite deployment. This is a significant ethical and regulatory failure, as it directly compromises the confidentiality and integrity of data transmitted over the network, potentially violating data protection laws. Furthermore, implementing without proper testing could lead to unexpected interoperability issues with existing systems, creating a cascade of problems that are more difficult and costly to resolve post-deployment. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a phased approach. First, a comprehensive discovery and assessment of the existing environment. Second, a detailed design and planning phase that incorporates security and compliance requirements. Third, a controlled implementation with rigorous testing. And finally, ongoing monitoring and maintenance. This structured methodology ensures that all technical, security, and regulatory considerations are addressed systematically, minimizing the likelihood of errors and ensuring a successful, compliant deployment. Question 15. Stakeholder feedback indicates concerns regarding the potential for sensitive information to be inadvertently captured and stored by the new Cisco TelePresence video solution. The implementation team is tasked with ensuring the solution adheres to the General Data Protection Regulation (GDPR) principles. Which of the following approaches best addresses these concerns from a regulatory compliance perspective? Option A. Rely on the default security settings of the Cisco TelePresence components and assume that standard IT security policies are sufficient to meet GDPR requirements. Option B. Conduct a comprehensive data protection impact assessment (DPIA) to identify and mitigate risks related to personal data processing, ensuring privacy by design principles are integrated into the solution's architecture and configuration, and obtain explicit consent mechanisms where applicable. Option C. Prioritize the technical performance and feature set of the TelePresence solution, with a plan to address any identified data privacy issues post-implementation through software patches. Option D. Implement robust encryption for all data in transit and at rest, and conduct regular security audits to identify vulnerabilities. Correct answer is D. Implement robust encryption for all data in transit and at rest, and conduct regular security audits to identify vulnerabilities. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing the technical implementation of a Cisco TelePresence video solution with the critical need for regulatory compliance, specifically concerning data privacy and security. The challenge lies in ensuring that the deployed solution adheres to the relevant data protection laws without compromising the functionality or user experience. Careful judgment is required to identify and mitigate potential risks associated with the collection, transmission, and storage of video and audio data, which are often considered sensitive personal information. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a proactive and comprehensive assessment of regulatory requirements before and during the implementation phase. This involves engaging with legal and compliance teams to understand specific obligations under the relevant data protection framework. By integrating privacy by design principles, the implementation team ensures that data protection is a core consideration from the outset, rather than an afterthought. This aligns with the ethical imperative to protect user privacy and the legal requirement to comply with data protection regulations, thereby minimizing the risk of breaches, fines, and reputational damage. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on technical functionality without considering regulatory implications is professionally unacceptable. This failure represents a direct violation of data protection laws, which mandate specific controls and safeguards for personal data. Such an approach could lead to unauthorized access, data leakage, and non-compliance with consent requirements, resulting in significant legal penalties and loss of trust. Another incorrect approach that relies on generic security measures without understanding the specific data types and regulatory context is also professionally flawed. While general security is important, it may not address the particular requirements of data protection regulations, such as data minimization, purpose limitation, or specific consent mechanisms for video and audio recording. This oversight can lead to a false sense of security and expose the organization to regulatory scrutiny. Finally, an approach that delays regulatory review until after implementation is a critical failure. This reactive stance significantly increases the risk of noncompliance, as remediation efforts after deployment are often more costly and disruptive. It demonstrates a lack of foresight and a disregard for the legal and ethical obligations surrounding data privacy. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a structured risk assessment framework that explicitly incorporates regulatory compliance. This includes 1. Identifying all applicable regulatory frameworks, 2. Engaging relevant stakeholders, including legal, compliance, and security teams, early in the project lifecycle, 3. Conducting a thorough data privacy impact assessment (DPIA) for the TelePresence solution, 4. Implementing technical and organizational measures to meet identified compliance requirements, 5. Establishing ongoing monitoring and auditing processes to ensure continued adherence to regulations. Question 16. Implementation of a Cisco TelePresence video solution for a US-based healthcare provider requires careful consideration of patient data privacy. Which of the following strategies best ensures compliance with the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act (HIPAA) when transmitting protected health information, via video conferencing? Option A. focusing solely on achieving high video quality and low latency for all calls, with minimal emphasis on specific encryption protocols, as long as the data is not explicitly stored by the TelePresence system. Option B, deploying the Cisco TelePresence solution with default security settings and relying on the inherent security of the network infrastructure to protect PHI during video calls. Option C, utilizing a readily available, cost-effective video conferencing service that offers basic security features, assuming it is sufficient for transmitting non-critical patient information. Option D, implementing end-to-end encryption for all video calls involving PHI and ensuring the chosen Cisco TelePresence solution, and any associated services are HIPAA compliant through Business Associate Agreements, BA, where applicable. The correct answer is D, implementing end-to-end encryption for all video calls involving PHI and ensuring the chosen Cisco TelePresence solution, and any associated services are HIPAA compliant through Business Associate Agreements, BA, where applicable. Explanation: the implementation of video conferencing solutions within a regulated industry, such as healthcare in the United States, necessitates strict adherence to data privacy and security regulations. The Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, HIPAA, is paramount in this context, dictating how protected health information, PHI, must be handled. A professionally challenging aspect of this scenario is balancing the desire for seamless, high-quality video communication with the absolute requirement to safeguard sensitive patient data. This requires a deep understanding of both the technical capabilities of the Cisco TelePresence solution and the legal obligations imposed by HIPAA. The correct approach involves a comprehensive risk assessment and the implementation of robust security measures that align with HIPAA security rule. This includes ensuring end-to-end encryption for all video communications containing PHI, establishing clear policies for data handling and access control, and ensuring that all third-party vendors involved in the solution also comply with HIPAA. This proactive and compliant approach not only mitigates legal and financial risks, but also upholds patient trust and ethical responsibilities. An incorrect approach that fails to adequately address HIPAA compliance would be to prioritize ease of use or cost savings over security. For instance, deploying a solution without verifying its HIPAA compliance or without implementing appropriate encryption would be a significant regulatory failure. This could lead to unauthorized disclosure of PHI, resulting in substantial fines, reputational damage, and potential legal action. Another failure would be to assume that all video conferencing platforms are inherently secure or compliant without due diligence. This oversight ignores the specific requirements for handling PHI. Professionals tasked with implementing such solutions should adopt a decision-making framework that begins with a thorough understanding of applicable regulations, HIPAA in this U.S. context. This should be followed by a detailed technical assessment of the proposed solution's security features against these regulatory requirements. Vendor due diligence is critical, ensuring that any third-party components or services meet the same stringent standards. Finally, ongoing monitoring and auditing are essential to maintain compliance and adapt to evolving threats and regulatory guidance. Question 17. The audit findings indicate that the organization's current Cisco TelePresence video solution implementation may not fully comply with data privacy regulations regarding the transmission of sensitive client information. Specifically, the audit highlights concerns about the encryption protocols used and the logging of call metadata. What is the most appropriate course of action to address these findings? Option A. Implement generic security best practices for all network traffic without specifically assessing the video conferencing solution's compliance with data privacy regulations for sensitive information. Option B. Assume the Cisco TelePresence solution is compliant as per vendor specifications and inform the auditors that no further action is required. Option C. Immediately disable all video conferencing capabilities for sensitive client discussions until a new, compliant solution can be procured. Option D. Conduct a thorough review of the Cisco TelePresence solution's security features. Consult with legal counsel to understand specific regulatory obligations for sensitive data transmission, and implement enhanced encryption and access controls as recommended, ensuring all actions are documented. Correct answer is D. Conduct a thorough review of the Cisco TelePresence solution's security features. Consult with legal counsel to understand specific regulatory obligations for sensitive data transmission, and implement enhanced encryption and access controls as recommended, ensuring all actions are documented. Explanation: the audit findings indicate a potential violation of data privacy regulations concerning the transmission of sensitive information over video conferencing systems. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a deep understanding of both technical implementation and the legal framework governing data protection. The pressure to maintain operational efficiency and user experience can sometimes conflict with strict adherence to regulatory requirements, demanding careful judgment and a proactive approach to compliance. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a comprehensive risk assessment and the implementation of robust security measures that align with the specified regulatory framework. This involves understanding the specific data being transmitted, the potential vulnerabilities of the chosen video conferencing solution, and the legal obligations to protect that data. By engaging with legal counsel and implementing technical controls such as end-to-end encryption and access controls, the organization demonstrates a commitment to regulatory compliance and data security, thereby mitigating legal and reputational risks. This proactive stance is crucial for maintaining trust with stakeholders and avoiding penalties. An incorrect approach that involves merely relying on the vendor's stated compliance without independent verification fails to meet the due diligence expected under regulatory frameworks. This can lead to significant legal and ethical failures, as the organization is ultimately responsible for the protection of data, regardless of vendor claims. Another incorrect approach, which is to implement security measures without understanding the specific data types and their sensitivity, is also problematic. This one-size-fits-all approach may not provide adequate protection for highly sensitive information, leaving the organization vulnerable to breaches and non-compliance. Finally, ignoring the audit findings or delaying remediation efforts constitutes a direct disregard for regulatory obligations and ethical responsibilities, exposing the organization to severe penalties and reputational damage. Professionals should adopt a decision-making framework that begins with a thorough understanding of the relevant regulatory landscape. When faced with audit findings, the immediate step should be to investigate the validity of the findings and their potential impact. This should be followed by a risk-based assessment, prioritizing remediation efforts based on the severity of the potential violation and the sensitivity of the data involved. Collaboration with legal, compliance, and IT security teams is essential. Documentation of all assessments, decisions, and implemented controls is critical for demonstrating due diligence and compliance during future audits or investigations. Question 18. Market research demonstrates that organizations are increasingly adopting advanced TelePresence video solutions to enhance collaboration. When implementing a new Cisco TelePresence solution within a US-based enterprise, what is the most critical regulatory consideration to ensure compliance with data privacy and security laws? Option A. Adopting the same implementation strategy used by a competitor in a different industry sector. Option B. Prioritizing network bandwidth and video quality to ensure optimal user experience during calls. Option C. Reviewing the technical specifications of the telepresence equipment for compatibility with existing IT infrastructure. Option D. Conducting a data protection impact assessment (DPIA) to identify and mitigate risks to personal data processed by the telepresence system. The correct answer is D. Conducting a data protection impact assessment (DPIA) to identify and mitigate risks to personal data processed by the telepresence system. Explanation: this scenario presents a professional challenge because implementing new video conferencing solutions often involves integrating with existing network infrastructure and ensuring compliance with data privacy regulations. The core difficulty lies in balancing the technical requirements of a robust telepresence deployment with the legal obligations to protect sensitive information transmitted over these systems. Careful judgment is required to avoid inadvertently creating security vulnerabilities or violating data protection laws. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a thorough understanding of the relevant regulatory framework, specifically the data protection and privacy laws applicable in the United States, as this exam is US-centric. By conducting a data protection impact assessment (DPIA) before deployment, the organization proactively identifies potential risks to personal data and implements appropriate technical and organizational measures to mitigate them. This aligns with principles of privacy by design and by default, as mandated by regulations like the California Consumer Privacy Act, CCPA, and other federal privacy guidelines. This proactive stance ensures that the TelePresence solution is implemented in a manner that respects user privacy and avoids legal repercussions. An incorrect approach that involves deploying the solution without a formal risk assessment of data privacy implications is professionally unacceptable. This failure directly contravenes the spirit and letter of U.S. data privacy laws, which require organizations to take reasonable steps to protect personal information. Such an oversight could lead to significant data breaches, regulatory fines, and reputational damage. Another incorrect approach, focusing solely on technical performance metrics without considering data handling, is also professionally flawed. While performance is crucial for user experience, it does not absolve the implementer of their responsibility to ensure data security and privacy. Ignoring these aspects can lead to non-compliance with regulations that govern how data is collected, processed, and stored, even if the video quality is excellent. Finally, an approach that relies on anecdotal evidence or the practices of other organizations without verifying their compliance with U.S. regulations is a risky and unprofessional strategy. Regulatory requirements are specific and can vary, and assuming compliance based on external factors without due diligence is a recipe for legal and ethical missteps. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a structured approach. First, identify all applicable regulatory frameworks. Second, conduct a comprehensive risk assessment, specifically focusing on data privacy and security implications of the proposed technology. Third, design and implement technical and organizational controls to mitigate identified risks. Fourth, document all assessments and mitigation strategies. Finally, establish ongoing monitoring and review processes to ensure continued compliance and adapt to evolving threats and regulations. Question 19. Operational review demonstrates that a healthcare provider is implementing a Cisco TelePresence video solution to facilitate remote patient consultations. The organization has not conducted a specific risk assessment to identify potential vulnerabilities related to the transmission of protected health information. 5. Over the video conferencing platform, nor have they implemented specific technical or administrative safeguards beyond the default configurations of the Cisco equipment. Which of the following approaches best aligns with regulatory requirements for protecting patient data in this scenario? Option A. Conduct a comprehensive HIPAA risk assessment to identify vulnerabilities and implement specific technical, physical, and administrative safeguards tailored to the TelePresence solution and PHI. Option B. Proceed with the deployment, assuming the inherent security features of the Cisco TelePresence system are sufficient to meet regulatory compliance for PHI. Option C. Implement the TelePresence solution and rely on the patient's consent to participate in video consultations as the primary mechanism for data protection. Option D. Deploy the TelePresence solution and provide general IT security awareness training to staff, without a specific focus on the handling of PHI during video consultations. The correct answer is A. Conduct a comprehensive HIPAA risk assessment to identify vulnerabilities and implement specific technical, physical, and administrative safeguards tailored to the TelePresence solution and PHI. Explanation. Scenario analysis. Implementing Cisco TelePresence video solution. Part 1. Within a regulated industry like healthcare in the United States, presents significant challenges related to patient privacy and data security. The Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, HIPAA, mandates strict controls over protected health information. 5. Ensuring that video conferencing solutions, which can transmit sensitive patient data, comply with HIPAA security rule and privacy rule is paramount. The challenge lies in balancing the operational benefits of real-time video communication with the legal and ethical obligations to safeguard patient confidentiality. Missteps can lead to severe penalties, reputational damage, and erosion of patient trust. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a comprehensive risk assessment and the implementation of robust technical, physical, and administrative safeguards specifically designed to protect PHI transmitted via the video solution. This includes ensuring end-to-end encryption for all video calls, implementing strong access controls and audit trails for the TelePresence system, and establishing clear policies and procedures for its use that align with HIPAA requirements. Training staff on HIPAA compliance and the secure use of the video solution is also a critical administrative safeguard. This proactive and layered security strategy directly addresses the core tenets of HIPAA, ensuring that PHI is protected against unauthorized access, use, or disclosure, thereby representing best professional practice. Incorrect approach is analysis. Implementing a video solution without a thorough HIPAA risk assessment and without specific safeguards for PHI is a direct violation of the HIPAA security rule. This failure to identify and mitigate risks associated with electronic PHI, EFI, makes the organization vulnerable to breaches. Relying solely on the inherent security features of the TelePresence system without verifying their adequacy against HIPAA standards is also a regulatory failure. The law requires covered entities to assess and address their specific risks, not to assume compliance. Furthermore, deploying the system without clear usage policies or adequate staff training on handling PHI during video calls creates significant ethical and legal risks, potentially leading to inadvertent disclosures and non-compliance with the HIPAA privacy rule. Professional reasoning. Professionals must adopt a risk-based approach, prioritizing compliance with relevant regulations like HIPAA. This involves understanding the specific data being transmitted, the potential threats, and the vulnerabilities of the chosen technology. A systematic process of assessment, implementation of controls, and ongoing monitoring is essential. When implementing solutions like Cisco TelePresence, the decision-making process should always begin with a thorough understanding of legal and regulatory obligations, followed by a detailed technical and operational plan to meet those obligations. This ensures that technology adoption supports, rather than compromises, organizational compliance and ethical responsibilities. Question 20. Investigation of a multinational corporation's implementation of Cisco TelePresence video solution. Part 1 reveals a potential conflict between the desire for rapid global deployment and the need to comply with varying data privacy regulations across different operating regions. The IT team is considering a strategy that prioritizes feature enablement and user adoption over a detailed, region-specific compliance audit for the initial rollout. Which of the following approaches best aligns with regulatory compliance requirements for implementing such a solution? Option A. Implement the Cisco TelePresence solution using the most stringent security and privacy settings available globally, even if these settings may impact performance or usability in certain regions, without a detailed regional analysis. Option B. Conduct a comprehensive data privacy and security impact assessment for each region prior to deployment, ensuring the solution's configuration and data handling practices align with local regulations, and implement necessary controls and documentation. Option C. Proceed with a global deployment, relying on the Cisco TelePresence solution's default security settings and assuming they meet all international data privacy standards, with a plan to address any identified compliance issues post-deployment. Option D. Focus on deploying the core functionality of the Cisco TelePresence solution globally and deferring any specific data privacy or security compliance reviews until a later phase after user feedback has been gathered. The correct answer is B. Conduct a comprehensive data privacy and security impact assessment for each region prior to deployment, ensuring the solution's configuration and data handling practices align with local regulations, and implement necessary controls and documentation. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent tension between rapid technology deployment and the need for robust regulatory compliance, particularly concerning data privacy and security in video conferencing. Organizations must balance the benefits of advanced collaboration tools with their legal obligations to protect sensitive information. Careful judgment is required to ensure that the implementation of Cisco TelePresence solutions adheres to all applicable regulations without hindering business operations. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a thorough understanding and application of the relevant regulatory framework. Specifically, it involves proactively identifying and addressing potential compliance gaps before and during the deployment of the video solution. This proactive stance minimizes the risk of regulatory violations, data breaches, and associated penalties. By integrating compliance considerations into the project lifecycle, from initial planning to ongoing operation. Organizations demonstrate a commitment to responsible technology adoption and data stewardship, aligning with the principles of data protection and privacy laws. An incorrect approach that involves deploying the solution without a comprehensive review of data handling policies and security configurations fails to meet regulatory requirements. This oversight can lead to the inadvertent exposure of sensitive information, violating data privacy laws, and potentially resulting in significant fines and reputational damage. Another incorrect approach, which relies solely on vendor assurances without independent verification of compliance features, is professionally negligent. While vendors provide tools, the responsibility for ensuring compliance rests with the deploying organization. Failing to conduct due diligence and implement appropriate controls based on the specific use case and data types processed by the TelePresence system constitutes a significant regulatory and ethical failure. A third incorrect approach, which assumes that standard IT security practices are sufficient without considering the unique data privacy implications of video conferencing, overlooks specific regulatory mandates related to the capture, storage, and transmission of personal data in real-time communication. Professionals should adopt a decision-making framework that begins with a clear identification of all applicable regulatory requirements related to data privacy, security, and telecommunications. This should be followed by a risk assessment specific to the proposed Cisco TelePresence deployment, considering the types of data that will be transmitted and stored, implementing technical and organizational measures to mitigate identified risks, documenting all compliance efforts, and establishing ongoing monitoring and auditing processes are crucial steps. Finally, seeking legal and compliance expertise when uncertainties arise ensures that decisions are grounded in regulatory best practices.